Welcome to Learning English with Captain Binoy Varakil, Assistant Professor, Department of English, St. Joseph's College, Devkari, Kozhikode, Kerala. I hope you are doing good and you learn the English language and literature very sincerely and very well. Please work hard. Your life is what you make of it, and you have to work hard and be very consistent in your hard work so that you have, of course, very good life. Work hard. No pain, no gain. You know that fact, right? So hard work will lead you to great glory and happiness. Okay, so we discuss fiction, and of course in the previous lectures I asked you to write some short story, some novel, some poem, and I hope you are writing. Please do writing so that your talent is being expressed right there. So if you are a writer, please help the writer in you. You have to help the writer in you. You have to help the singer in you. You have to help the painter in you, dancer in you. It's your duty. Okay, so today in this lecture we are discussing what epistolary novels are. In the previous two lectures on fiction, we discussed what fiction is. We discussed how novel, story and novelette developed. Okay, so from medieval romances, novels developed, and slowly we have shorter stories with plot and incidents, etc., and that's of course short story. And now we are discussing the first English novel, Pamela, which is of course an epistolary novel. In the initial part of this lecture, we are discussing what epistolary novels are. What is an epistolary novel? We know that epistolary novel, the very word epistle we have in Latin, and from this Latin word epistle comes the word epistolary. Epistle, epistolary. So an epistolary novel is a novel written as a series of letters, which can be called a document. So an epistolary novel can be a novel which is written as a series of letters or a series of documents. And it could be, of course, maybe a letter, it can be a diary entry, it can be, of course, sometimes a note written. So the normal form is letters, although diary events, newspaper clippings and other documents are sometimes used. Sometimes you have newspaper clippings as well. So these newspaper clippings, diary entry, then of course the letters, all that are collected, exchanged, and that is just becoming a novel. Alright, and recently, of course, the epistolary novel is written, and when it comes to epistolary novel, the concept of epistolary novel in modern times, we have to understand, of course, this is the time of the social media. We have, of course, a lot of branches of the social media, like the Facebook, the Twitter, Instagram. Likewise, we have a lot of social media. So electronic documents such as recordings, radio, blogs, emails have also the right aspect of what is known as epistolary novel. So if you have, of course, different recordings, voice recordings, or you may have, of course, right, exchanges between people. So a novel can be in the form of maybe emails. That is again epistolary novel. So epistolary novel doesn't mean that it's a novel which is, of course, made of exchange of letters alone. It could be exchange of maybe voice messages. It could be exchange of emails. It could be exchange of text messages. All right. That is our idea of epistolary novel. And in Britain, in English, of course, it begins with 1740 Virtue Rewarded of Pamela of Samuel Richardson, and we have many other novels in English which is of course which are examples for epistolary novel. Say for example, Dracula is of course an epistolary novel. The color purple and Pamela are all epistolary novels. Now we are looking at the most important novel of Samuel Richardson. Richardson has Pamela or Virtue Rewarded. It is published in the year 1740. Other than that, we have three more novels by Samuel Richardson. One is written sometime after 2 years after Pamela, and it is Pamela in Her Exalted Condition. It is in 1742. 1742 is also the year of Henry Fielding's Joseph Andrews. Same year, Richardson publishes another novel which is also a continuation of Pamela, Pamela in Her Exalted Condition. And Richardson has written a third novel that is in the year 1748. It is titled Clarissa, Clarissa, Clarissa. And subsequently, in 1753, he has another title, that is Sir Charles Grandison. Sir Charles Grandison. So all these novels of Richardson are bestsellers, especially Pamela, Clarissa as well. They are published, purchased, bought, and read wide. A lot of people are very happy to read Richardson. Okay, so those times in Britain, writers were having a lot of opportunity because very few writers, right? But all these writers are writing and they are getting published, and a lot of readers these titles become bestsellers. Now let's look at the story Pamela. Pamela is subtitled Virtue Rewarded, and it is of course the first true novel in English. It's considered, critics, these are opinions, critics say that this is of course the first novel in English. And the novel Pamela serves as Richardson's version of conduct. This novel serves as Richardson's version of conduct literature about marriage. Conduct literature about marriage. What is marriage? What should be marriage? That idea of Richardson is in this novel, Virtue Rewarded or Pamela. So you have to remember, Pamela is subtitled Virtue Rewarded. What is the subtitle of Pamela of Richardson of 1740? Virtue Rewarded. Now, in this novel, how is this novel narrated? Pamela tells her story through letters. Pamela is a 15-year-old maid servant her complete name is Pamela Andrews, and she is employed in a rich man's house. His name is Mr. B. B for ball, B for bucket, right? B. Alright, so Pamela, 15-year-old beautiful young maid servant, is working in the house of a wealthy landowner, Mr. B. And this man, Mr. B, he is very, very wealthy, and he is making unwanted and inappropriate advances towards Pamela. And all this happened after the death of Pamela. Pamela's mother died when she is just 16 years, and she is of course 15 plus years, and she is of course in difficult times, miserable, and her landlord, Mr. B, is advancing, approaching and seducing, but she is of course leading a very, very virtuous life. Pamela is she strives to reconcile her strong religious training with her desire for the approval of her employer in a series of letters, and later in the novel journal entries all addressed to her impoverished parents. Okay, so she is trying her best to be virtuous. She's trying her best to be close to, of course, to uphold her religious convictions, and she doesn't want to live a bad life. And she is writing to her brother and, of course, to the members of her family, her father, or her difficulties, and she swears that she will always try to lead a very religious life. All this is the content of the novel Pamela. So after many unsuccessful attempts of seduction, Mr. B is trying to seduce Pamela. He is, of course, trying to assault her, to rape her, but of course trying to kidnap her. But all these attempts of seduction, rape and kidnap and all, she is just resisting. She does not let him to have her sexually. No sexual, she does not yield to his sexual attempts, right, for a union. She does not yield to. Okay, and later Mr. B is rather influenced by the virtuous life of Pamela. Although poor, she is, of course, having some values, having some virtue, not yielding to temptations, and he is moved and he is reformed to a certain extent. He undergoes a lot of change in his character, and he is proposing sincerely to Pamela for marriage. This sincere, he has undergone a lot of change. She influenced him with her virtue and ethical life, and this moral and religious and spiritual and virtuous life of Pamela influences Mr. B, and he changes and he is sincerely proposing to Pamela, may I marry you? Will you marry me? Alright, and at last, of course, we have the marriage, and of course, in the second part of the novel, that is after the proposal, we see Pamela. Pamela marries Mr. B, and she is, of course, wife of Mr. B, the landlord, rich man, and she is just leading the life of a landlady, and of course, she is upper class, and from a lower class maid servant, working class representative, she is just changing to maybe an upper class lady. And this transformation of Pamela from a lower class maid servant to an upper class lady is in the second part of this novel. And of course, when you read this novel, you understand that Richardson has a moral purpose in writing this novel. Okay, he wants people to live a moral life, an ethical life. They must have some values, virtues. And as you all know, this novel is a good novel, and the character of Pamela is also good. Her good character is influencing her employee's character, and Pamela was bestseller during the 18th and 19th centuries. Even today people read and enjoy Richardson's Pamela. So this is an epistolary novel written between characters, an exchange of letters between Pamela Andrews and her father, brother, and members of the family. So such type of novels which are narrated through maybe a series of documents or letters or diaries or emails or logs or blogs can be called what is known as epistolary novel. Thank you very much for listening. So next lecture we are discussing another kind of novel. So these are all kinds of novel. So we have first kind of novel, epistolary novel. Next, we are looking at Henry Fielding's novel, Joseph Andrews, written after the publication of Pamela or Virtue Rewarded. Now, Fielding also wants to write. For Fielding wants to break the kind of virtuous identity created by Richardson, and he is making a nasty, vulgar, villainous character, that is brother of Pamela Andrews. Title of the novel is Joseph Andrews. It is a picaresque novel. Tomorrow in our lecture we will discuss what are picaresque novels. Thanks a lot for listening. May God bless you.